Hello, I'm Craig Constantine. Welcome to the Movers Mindset Podcast, where I talk with movement enthusiasts to learn who they are, what they do, and why they do it. My guest today is George McGowan. Welcome, George. How are you?
Hello, Craig. Thank you for having me on. Much appreciated, and I'm excited to talk with you.
If you're half as excited as I am, this is going to be great. I tell everybody before I hit record that I really appreciate people taking the time. Who's this random strange dude asking me to jump on a call? That's me. So many things. Let's dive in with. There was a documentary that you did with. I don't know if I want to say with Robbie Corbett or if I want to say with Wolf Puff or if I want to
I
say
mean, both.
with
Yeah, both.
Max Ward. All those
I mean,
people,
yeah,
all those things.
all of the three. Yeah,
If you don't know what documentary I'm talking about, you need to press pause. You need to go find the YouTube link in the episode notes and watch the documentary because the rest of this isn't going to make sense. But Woof Puff, which is the World Freerunning Parkour Federation, but we're just going to say Woof Puff or WFPF the rest of the show. Woof Puff and Robbie invited you to go out and do a documentary. So tell me, because I want to talk about some of the things that are in the doc and then leads me to some other things. But tell me
yeah.
about what were you thinking when Robbie offered you that opportunity?
I mean, I was super excited, of course. Me and Robbie met. He flew me to the USA Parkour Cup in the beginning of 2022, which was in Tampa, in Florida, and from there, um, we hit it off with a good relationship. I feel like we had similar interests in moving the sport forward. So we kept in contact, and then he got in touch about the opportunity to go to the Philippines and deliver the WFPF coaching certification. So yeah, I was super excited. He sent me some stuff over, so I was aware of what the course entailed before going over, but it was awesome to see it and be part of it. Actually being delivered because it's extremely beneficial. I feel like for coaching.
Hmm. Uh, I'm at the fork in the road, 2 minutes and 12 seconds in. I want to ask more about the cert, but before
Yeah,
I do, one of the things in the documentary that I really enjoyed, and this is kind of like my personal thing, I really love to see what goes into the making of the things. I mean, I love to see finished, reels and cuts, but there's a long section in there that's also montage together too of
yeah,
you working on one relatively small. I think it was like one,
yeah.
two, maybe like four moves, five if you count the
Oh
flip on the
yeah,
end.
yeah, yeah. I
There's
remember.
just like this little sequence over and over and
Yeah,
over and over and over and over and over and over. And I really appreciated that because it, first of all, it showed obviously how hard you work to get, I don't want to say just to get a clip because clearly you're not doing it for the clips, but it showed how thorough you were at
yeah,
like working every piece of it to make it function. But I also noticed when I went and watched another video, which we're going to discuss too, called what is it, like 7 minutes of explosive parkour. The word explosive should be in capital letters. I watched everyone, I watched it, and every split second clip, my brain unpacked to seeing you do that 50 to 100 times before you did each one of those. So
yeah.
I thought the documentary was a really great, like, here's George's process. So I just like want to know, have you always been that detail oriented or thorough, or did that develop over
Um,
time?
I think so. Yeah, I always wanted the lines to be the way I imagine them. That's the main thing. I get to a spot and I get to the spot and I have a picture in my mind, or even if I've been to the spot, I'll literally be laying in bed at night thinking about, oh, I'm going to train at this spot tomorrow, and then I'll create the line in my head. And when I go to the spot, I want it to be exactly that. So I think also the people that I came up training with. So Keelan from Modus, who's now working with Store, he is an incredible line builder, and I feel like training with him a lot really pushed me forward to a more perfectionist mindset because I would see him have a similar mentality where that he was almost never satisfied with the
Mm.
end result unless it was absolutely perfect. And I think that yeah, that carried over into my style. And then as I progressed, it just got more and more and more. I was more critical of myself, but it's my style of training, and I want the line to be in my eyes perfect. And if I'm happy with it, then that's all that matters.
Mm.
Having the clip at the end is just a bonus to me.
Mm. I'm not going to lose my woof puff cert
It's
question, but
okay.
I
Yeah.
want to keep going with this.
Yeah.
You, um, I don't. The joke is I wear T-shirts that say "this end up." I don't do flips.
Yeah.
However, I really love the aesthetic of it, and I notice that in the 7 minutes of explosive parkour, people go watch that. There are a ton of flip freestyle type, in your lines, but and sometimes they're on the end, like as a punctuation mark. But a lot of times the flips are in the middle, and that really struck me. I don't want to say it's unique because people do
Yeah.
that. That's not unheard of. But I really thought it was like there's one example, and I mentioned this before. There's a run up, and I saw two middle height walls, and my brain went, "Oh, that's big. That's going to be like a beautiful double Kong," is what I was expecting. And no, you just front flip the entire thing, never touching any of the obstacle. And I was like, whoa, actually, that looked like it was way easier
Yeah,
than
exactly.
double calling. And we were talking about that a little bit. So I want to say, do you see the flips when like you look at the spot? Do you see the flips right away? Or do you see do you draw the line or
Yeah.
do you imagine the movements first?
I
If
think
that
it's a
makes
bit of
sense.
both. I think I imagine the movements. Basically, when I get to the spot, I'm thinking what is going to statically look real cool and also feel nice. Because you can do lines that maybe look great on camera, but they don't feel that good. My main thing is I want the line to feel how I imagine in my head. So with the front flip and stuff like that, exactly like you said, sometimes it's actually easier and more efficient to do the flip, and it actually takes less effort. And more people prefer maybe that, depending on what the movement is. Even with my flips and lines, I try and make sure there's a little bit of efficiency at least. So even if, like you said, if it's in the middle of a line, I want it to still flow nicely into the next movement. So I don't want to do like a big stomp punch side flip in the middle of a line and then, do three more steps into another vault. I want it to be like a smooth, nice, clean
Mm.
connection between the moves. So it's
There are
basically
some
clearing space.
sick, smooth moves in that 7 minute video. There is some stuff where,
Thank you so much.
yeah, like, sorry, I'm going to go off on a fanboy. You do some beautiful one hand side flips, and I can just see you're already rising. And then when you do that, it's like, yeah, I'm putting my hand down, but it just makes the
Yeah.
movement connect together.
Yeah,
And
because
so
you
I'm
just
just
get that
saying, like,
spring.
you can see exactly what George is saying in the video. Keep going.
Yeah, you get that spring. Like as you talk about the one hand side flip, it's like you get that extra spring, which just allows you to open out and go nicely. Think about your steps and then go nicely into the next movement. So things like that, I really think about utilizing what flip is actually going to be best for a connection. I'm not the biggest fan of free running moves when it's real heavy, stumpy impacts, and they also don't really connect to anything else. So yeah, although I'm doing a lot of flips and free running tricks, I still, yeah, as I said, I want to keep that level of efficiency to where the movement still looks fluid and nice.
Yeah. I saw a lot of like split foot takeoffs and
Yeah,
landings and big gonzo strides. It was really nice. I really
and
liked
that's
it.
why it takes a lot of tries.
Yeah.
As you see in the documentary, that's why it
Yeah.
takes a lot of tries because it's very
Yeah. 4
rare
hours
for a
for one
line.
line or something. It's
Yeah,
nuts.
yeah, honestly, man, like that has been the case, and sometimes you don't even get it on one day. Maybe you have to go back to the spot
Mm.
the next day or the next week, and you have to try the process all over
Yeah.
again. But that's part of the satisfaction of doing it. If something
I,
takes a long time to commit, it can be anything. It can just be a standard precision. But if it takes a long time to get that perfection that you're looking for, it's for me the ultimate satisfaction.
yeah. And there's a level of physicality there. Like, you watch a clip and you see a short line. I mean, short in
Yeah,
time, you see a short line and, I think, wow, that's a lot of power. But, but when my mind goes, yeah, and that's like the 103rd time that you've done it. It's like, all right, you begin to realize that you're not actually pushing max capacity. None of these are max jumps. None
yeah,
of these
yeah,
are 100% because you have to do them over and over, which kind of circles back to what you were saying about control and perfection.
yeah,
I also wanted to say the the more art du placement Yamakasi style stick, like a stationary frozen ending,
yeah,
they look all because you do some of those. They look all the nicer when it's not what you're ending every line with. So every once in a while, it's like, did film just freeze? Like, is that a freeze frame?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh no, he's
Just
just,
a
oh, and
sec.
then he walked away. So I'm totally picking up what you're saying about control. I haven't forgotten about the woof puff cert. We're going back there.
Yeah, yeah.
One
It's
of the
cool.
things I wanted to say about lines and like what this is like DNA free running stuff here. Um, the way that you um, so the 7 minutes of explosive parkour, there's no soundtrack, which is my personal favorite. I don't like, if I wanted music, I'd play music.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's all, just I hear, trainers and sneakers and
yeah,
breathing. And so it's a couple observations. You don't make a lot of noise. And I don't mean your hands and feet. I mean, you don't yell. So sometimes I see people who are like, they like psych themselves up and then they
yeah, yeah,
jam the line and then they end with a scream. Like the last move is like 100. And you were just like a machine, like just doing it over and over. The joy is evident when you could see sometimes you didn't think that that one was the one that was going to be the
yeah, yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah,
But
definitely.
when it was the one, when you knew, it was just like, came out at the end and it was like, now there's a dude having fun. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to make sure, are you aware of that? Like, do you do that
Yeah,
on purpose?
100%.
Or is that who you
Some
are?
sometimes, as you say, I'll take 50 clips and then I won't even realize it's the one because I've done it that many times. Then it takes me going back, after the session and looking through my phone and then deciding,
Hmm.
oh well, that actually was the one. I didn't even realize it, but there are them runs where you just know based on the feeling that oh
Hmm.
my, that was the perfect connection. It couldn't have been any better, and the joy from that. That is literally the reason I'm so passionate about it. It's just the feeling to me and the touch. I do freak out sometimes off the camera because that video in particular is on purpose, cut together really fine. So
Tight.
each
Yeah.
clip rolls, almost into the next clip. So there's almost no run up, and the endings are cut. So sometimes I am but again, yeah, I've done the line so many times that there almost is sometimes no reaction. I'm still satisfied inside, but there's almost no reaction because I'm thinking, am I gonna look at the clip and then just do it again anyway? So you can never be too sure. But unless it's something that's super scary or you're getting to the end of your physicality in the way that you're feeling fatigued from doing it so many times, so you're thinking, okay, this has to be the one, and then it is the one is also a great film.
Great film. All right, let's circle back.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the
Yeah,
documentary.
WF,
So
yeah,
for
yeah,
the Woof Puff cert, I think one of the things, I mean, so people listening are they're either on team certifications are a good idea, competition is a good idea, or they're not. If they're not,
yeah,
they're just going to fast forward. But I always like to take a chance to take time, when I have the opportunity to talk about like when you took that cert. Did you have a vision and a plan? Like, I think if I take this cert, it can be a stepping stone to something, or were you really just open to I got invited and this is a great opportunity and I've always wondered, like, what
yeah.
led you to do the cert?
Well, it's actually both. So I would say that both factors there, honestly, because I knew that as we talked previously, I've had a lot of previous experience in coaching anyway, growing up, and I did previously teach parkour full time when I was a bit younger, so I had a lot of knowledge anyway. But I was just curious to know. I've actually done the adapt parkour certification also when I was much younger. So I was just curious. It was sick, obviously, for the opportunity anyway that Robbie would invite me. I really appreciate that, and that meant a lot. And then also being curious about how the certification is taken and what the key benefits are coming away from it. Which for me, honestly, as a coach, were massive. Seeing Robbie break down some of the movements and the criteria was in ways that I've never experienced. And I've coached all over the world at different gyms and different events. And even coming away, I came away from it feeling like I am a way more confident coach. And yeah, just great. Again, grateful for the experience and just to be there.
Hmm. Yeah, there's I too did the adapt,
Yeah.
and I did it with actually no intention of coaching parkour. I did it as I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the unknown ones are, so
Yeah,
I
it's,
should
it's
probably go.
interesting. I mean,
This is a challenge.
yeah, exactly it's an experience. And I feel like even if you don't have intentions of coaching, I feel like it can still be beneficial, even just to your knowledge and passion of parkour. So I, yeah, I mean, I've done the adapt, and I didn't find that quite as useful, I would say. But also, I did do that when I was much younger. So maybe,
Oh, that's a
yeah,
whole nother kettle of fish, right? Like, I should do, am I, what's the whole thing about when the student's ready, the master
yeah,
appears?
it's
Like,
hard to
did I maybe
explain
take
because
it
I
too
feel like
soon?
the adapt was more about physical condition than the parkour moves themselves.
Hmm.
But
Another
yeah,
reason to take all the certs one can find. I've found that after I've done that, and then having talked to people about Wolf Puff cert, and there are other certs out there from like Apex. The more that I learn about them, the more my respect for everybody who coaches, like whatever
yeah,
kingdom they're in, my respect goes up and up and up when you just see all the things that go in behind the scenes. So I don't know, I'm crazy passionate about what can we all do to make the people who are passionate about this thing.
yeah,
I
exactly.
love that we all fight over like art to plasma parkour and free running. We all have arguments, but it's like us against the world when it comes down to
Yeah,
it. So
exactly. I mean, the way I see it, movement is movement, and I can appreciate and I appreciate and I'm a fan of any sort of movement. It doesn't have to be parkour. So I feel like everyone should be open to trying different things, and even if it's not initially in their interest, you should open your mind to trying anyway. Is my opinion.
before you mentioned, I'm laying in bed and I'm picturing lines. I'm like, well,
Yeah,
if that's not a mover's mindset, I don't know what.
yeah, exactly.
It's
That's
like
it.
that's
Like
like
I
literally the
literally
show.
sometimes I dream, like I legitimately dream about doing parkour, which
Hmm.
is probably, as I said, because I'm going to bed thinking about the spots that I want to go to and the
Yeah.
lines that I want to do.
Um, we have a mutual friend. Shout out to Bain.
Yeah, big up the
We have
vein.
a mutual friend, and he was talking about he's still training in the same place. Like you,
Yeah,
I think you mentioned him while we were recording. You mentioned like you trained with him long ago. It's like he's still training in the same place,
yeah,
and that was really awesome to hear him talk about like I'm going to say growing into that like the bricks don't move, the blocks are in the same place, but
yeah,
you go there year after year. um, and I'm wondering, do you feel that, are you the kind of person who's drawn more to that,
yeah.
this is home, or do you seek
I
new
mean,
diversity?
yeah. I mean, uh, first of all, me and Bain come from Belfast in Northern Ireland, and there is great spots. So I feel like I'm still happy at going and train them local spots. Probably the same feelings Bain has. I met Bain as just a small kid. Must have only been, I don't know, 11 years old maybe, and he was the still is the Belfast legend. Like he's one of
Hmm.
the original parkour people who, um, I would say, I know he's probably the inspiration for most of the community in Northern Ireland who actually train. Because for me to actually see someone in person training parkour automatically made it more accessible. Because I'm thinking, oh well, if this guy's down in my city doing parkour, then that means I can learn parkour. So big shout out to Bain, and then just for consistency in the community over the years, and every time, even now, that I see him and we train together, it's always a great session. So respect.
Yeah. I lose sight of, so I was just trying to think, when did I start? I don't think I mean, I knew what the parkour word was, but I don't think I touched anything until I'm going to guess 2011 would be my guess
Yeah,
off the top of my head. So I missed, I didn't miss the internet, but like I did not try to learn parkour by watching videos after downloading them all night. I did do all that stuff on the internet, but just
yeah,
not for parkour. So I often like completely forget what it must have been like because I have no idea to like, oh, there's somebody doing it. There were always people doing it. I mean, it
yeah. It's
wasn't super
crazy.
popular, but I was like, we didn't have parkour gyms when I started, but there were parkour communities, and it wasn't unheard of to parkour passport your ass to some other country.
Yeah,
So I really, really get excited when I find people like Bain. Um, when you point at people like him and say, like, these crazy expletives, these are the dudes who
yeah.
are just out there doing the thing. And those people are all over the world, but I love to try and find, shine light on them.
No, exactly.
Uh,
It's super. Like I was the same. I saw parkour on YouTube, but I never took the step, and I thought it was awesome instantly. But I didn't take the step to actually try and train or try and meet anyone until I saw Bain training,
mm,
and that just flipped the switch where I thought, okay, it's possible. this guy is awesome and he can do it. He's doing huge jumps, and I want to do the same thing. So yeah, I mean, it's 2009 I started, and I think at that point, Bain had already, I imagine, been training for probably 5 plus years.
7,000 years.
Yeah,
Sorry, you
probably
don't want to
five,
call him out for being old.
probably 5 plus years already then. So he already had so much knowledge, and training with someone like him, just it made the rest of the community learn better technique and learn safer. I think because he had so much knowledge.
Oh, so many things. Would you want to talk more about OCR, obstacle course racing, or do you want to talk about
Yeah, I mean we
what
can
you're
talk about.
planning to do next? I mean, I'm like, what do we
Yeah,
could talk about.
OCR. It's not something I was very familiar with, to be honest. Before going to the Philippines, I've seen videos, and watched videos online of and it's number one, it's crazy athleticism in that. I did not realize.
Yes.
Like I've watched videos of it over the years, like I've found scrolling through, but seeing it in person and how athletic them men and women are is crazy. They're yeah, it's and then how that translated to parkour, because a lot of the OCR athletes took the cert because they work in gyms that provide parkour also, and just to see the athleticism and how fast they picked the movements up was incredible.
Yeah, there's in the documentary, there's I think it's a fairly short section right at the end, might be close to the end,
Yeah,
where there was like some training spot, and of course you look at it, you're like, whoa, like the parkour vision, you see all these things, and there
yeah,
were a couple of people who were other
yeah.
um,
Locals.
coaches taking the cert, and there were a couple of like they do one thing and it was horrible. You're like, what was that? And then there's another clip of like you're like, whoa, that's massively better. Like
Yeah,
I can understand the experience, like viscerally understand. I see a thing, I try to do the thing, and then I work on it, and then I can get it. But the improvement that I can pull off in that, I don't want to say in a session, that's like in a one spotty couple of runs, I can only get a small amount of improvement.
yeah,
And when I see people who are really athletic and are really good, what I would call good at parkour, the amount of improvement that they can get, when they get there, that to me is kind of how I judge athletes. Not like
yeah,
how good are they, but like when you give them a challenge and it's like, it doesn't work, and then you see them fiddle with it, and it's like, whoa, huge
yeah, yeah.
improvement. And that's, I saw some of that in the video in the documentary, and I thought that was an interesting thing, which you were kind of just pointing at there about the OCR racers
Yeah, it's
that
adapting. I mean, it's adapting to the challenge. Sometimes your original technique and idea isn't going to work, but it's do you give up at that point, or do you try and adapt your level and your technique to push through the challenge anyway? So I think that just comes with obviously experience and years of training.
yeah, that mental way of
Yeah,
this is a puzzle I have to
exactly.
unlock, not something I have to bash myself against.
Yeah, exactly. It's I mean it's safe progression. I always preach the parkour is about safe progression.
Hmm. Did I mention another video, the Instagram compilation? I think it's
Yeah,
like number 9. Did I
yeah,
mention that one on Mike? That's another one. I'll put it in the episode notes. People, you can go watch that one too. That was a cool one. But I really think if you're going to watch, people are going to watch too. Watch the whole documentary first, then watch the 7 minutes of explosive parkour.
yeah. I can shout out
Um,
one more, which is Jimmy the Giant also made a documentary about me also. And that's a notable mention because I feel like it's pretty cool as well.
yeah. Do you remember the title of it? If people want
It's
to just jump and
called
search.
World's Bounciest Free Runner or something like that.
That's a good
I
title.
can't
I mean,
remember.
I'll find it and link it, but if people are in a hurry, they can just flip and search.
Yeah.
I'm watching our time fly by. Do you want to touch a little bit on? Okay, so I would say you are. I don't want to say you're unknown because that would be completely wrong. But
Yeah.
you don't make a lot of noise,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
mean,
And what was it like to do? Like, what's it like to be in front of the camera? If like you're doing a documentary, or like some of the stuff you've done on the Modus Project's Prodcast,
yeah.
which I'll also link. What's it like when somebody points, like when I point mics at you, or they point documentary cameras at you? Is that comfortable for you, or is that kind
Yeah,
of pushing the envelope?
I feel like in the beginning it was a bit strange, but as the years went on, I've luckily had the opportunity to take part in many projects across parkour. I feel like it's like anything. I just got more comfortable with talking in front of the camera, so I don't mind. And also, I'm passionate about parkour, so I'm happy to share the mindset that I have with the community.
You mentioned guessing that you mentioned starting at 11. You said this was the date you were in
Yeah,
there thinking, maybe I was like 11.
yeah,
Um, can you remember like the moment where your mindset shifted from like, someone say just, chucking stupid to
yeah.
really having a training mindset? Do you remember that happening as a thing or is it?
Yeah, I mean, I can remember it was like I was pretty much the same as most people, I think, in the beginning, where I watched videos online and I just went out and was jumping off real big things and trying to do, I was just doing terrible rolls and stuff. And there was no like real training, I would say real training. It was more just doing jumps and seeing what was possible. But then when I started, as I said, I met Bean. I saw real technique. Then I was on YouTube more watching Phil Doyle and Ryan
Hmm,
Doyle and Kai and all these other big figures that came up at the beginning of the YouTube parkour boom. That pushed me into seeing what technique looks like, and I feel like that's when my mindset shifted. So maybe like 2 years in to training, probably
hmm.
like 2011 was when I was trying to train safely and just with better technique, I think.
Um, if I asked, the people that you train with a lot, if I asked them what your superpower is, what do you
Yeah.
think they'd say?
Probably just one. It's always one more. It's always George is always saying, "Oh, it's just one more. Just give me one more film one
Hmm,
more." And then
hmm,
it's never just one more. I think that's
hmm.
what they would say.
Do you agree with that? Is there something you wish you could turn that superpower into, or is that you're happy
I
with that?
mean, I mean, I like it because I like doing the line. I enjoy parkour and I like perfecting the line. So I like that. I'm not sure they like it because if
Push
they
back
have
from
to,
the cameraman, right?
yeah, yeah, if they have to, I'm very lucky that some of them have been very patient with me in many sessions, and I'm very lucky and very grateful for that because yeah, sometimes for them I can imagine it's not fun when I keep saying, "Oh, I just one more, just I need one more," and then 50 attempts later, I'm finally got the one. So
But I think, as you know so well, that the memory or the knowledge that you did it, like did it to your own standard, and then the video, if
that's it.
that's what you captured, that's all that there really is from that, other than
Yeah,
just your personal experience. So I think it's worth, um, as long as it doesn't become, I'm going to do this if it kills me, like okay, yeah, but
no, no, never
I
like
don't
that.
see you doing that.
Yeah, no, it'll never go that far. It's just
Mm,
doing, yeah. I would always stay in the realm of me being comfortable. I would never push it outside of, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, but I'm gonna keep going because I want the clip. I feel like I'm
mm.
always pretty true to I'm doing the line because it will make me happy.
What's something that's on your, maybe on your radar isn't quite the right wording because it doesn't have to be that well formed, but what's something that you keep coming back to in your mind? Like, I should try, like, should you try OCR or should you coach more? Like, what's something that you're looking out and thinking, maybe I should push myself and try that? Is it a line? Is it a new skill? Is
Yeah,
it,
I mean, I'm open to in the future moving forward. I'm open really to anything. As I said, I love all forms of movement, so maybe even going. As I get a bit older, maybe moving a bit into more into calisthenics. I'm recently getting more into running, like long distance running. But I always parkour will always be my at the moment anyway. That could change, but is my passion at the moment. So I just want to keep consistent with that and consistent with my training and having fun. That's my main goal is to sustain what I have now, be healthy, and just keep having fun and enjoying myself. That's what I feel like is most important.
this may sound strange, but
Yeah.
do you move to think or do you think in order to move? Does that make
Ooh,
sense?
it's an interesting question. I feel like it's both. I feel like that heavily depends on the scenario, I think. but I'd say I'm more thinking to move, I would say.
Hmm. That
Uh,
would have been my guess because you were describing, imagining the line and
yeah,
then working.
yeah,
But it kind
exactly.
of depends how we interpret the word think. Sometimes when I ask people that question or that type of question, if they interpret the word think to be like solving my personal problems, or where
Yeah,
then people will say, oh no, I move in order to think, because that's how I am. I will
yeah,
get all locked up in my mind, and then I will go out and move in order to fix my thinking. But that's kind of like
yeah.
a different thinking
But
than
I
what
think
you're.
no, but I think that's what I mean. I think there can be both, and I think it depends on the scenario because I definitely can be that way also. I think it just depends on what the challenge is, what the train, where the train session is. If it's an event, if it's not an event, I think that can heavily depend on a lot of other factors.
Hmm. If you could go anywhere, anybody, anywhere, not any time, like you got to go now. Is there somebody out there in the world that you're like, I really would love to go and shadow, a particular person, or who do you want to go and learn from, or train with, like in
Yeah,
the.
I want to go and meet all the really insanely high level guys in Iran because you always see, I don't know if you've seen it, but there is
Yes.
crazy level athletes coming from Iran. Yassine is probably my favorite, and I would love. We've talked on Instagram, and he's been invited to Red Bull, but for travel issues, he can't get to these amazing athletes. Can't get to Europe or the USA or wherever. So if I could, I would just love to meet and train with them guys. That's
Mm.
would be my if I could shadow anyone and see it for myself with my own eyes. That's what I want to see because they're incredibly talented.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that. Like I know about that, but now I have to link it. Now it has to go in the
Yeah,
episode notes so people
yeah,
can go. If anybody just went, who, what? I'm like, I'll figure out how to get us there.
yeah.
Anything else top of mind before I
No, I think
signal for the exit?
maybe just try and film more projects in the future.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I know there was a little, I don't know if I want to say a whisper, or there's some word about working more with Star, but I don't know if you have any projects that you want to let out
You'll
of the
just have
bag,
to
or if
wait.
that's
You'll
still.
you'll just have to wait and see. I mean, hopefully,
Hmm,
um, yeah, hopefully that's all I can say. Fingers
no, that's
crossed.
fine.
Hopefully something can happen.
Yeah, I'm not fishing for,
No,
trouble.
no, no. Yeah, yeah.
I just ask lots of questions and then I get in trouble.
No.
All right.
Okay.
I will just shut up and say, and of course, the final question, 3 words to describe your practice.
Uh, it's a hard question. I feel like passion. One is passion. Two is consistency, and three is love. Although that's quite deep. Them three answers, I feel like that is what parkour is to me. Anyway, that's how I would explain it. So yeah, thank you very much for having me on, Craig. It's
Oh, my pleasure.
been a pleasure. It's great to talk with you, and yeah, thank you everyone for listening. If you've listened to this, thank you very much.